to be a member, I should say, of the Surface Transportation Board, and Mario Cordero to be a commissioner at the Federal Maritime Commission. Both nominees have either served or are serving their respective independent agencies as chairman, and both have previously been confirmed by the Senate by voice vote. As the committee knows well, the STB plays an important role as the independent federal agency with regulatory authority over freight railroads. Among other things, the STB is charged with resolving railroad rate and service disputes and reviewing proposed railroad mergers. Mr. Elliott previously joined the STB as its chairman in 2009. During his tenure, he worked on important policy questions concerning competitive access, class exemptions from regulation, revenue adequacy, and rate regulation. These are complex and interrelated issues that this committee and various stakeholders believe that the board must confront more effectively. That's why I've worked with Ranking Member Nelson to pass a bill out of this committee that would reform the STB, known as the STB Reauthorization Act of 2015, or Senate Bill 2000, or I should say Senate Bill 808. Among other things, our bill would allow board members to speak to one another and improve the board's ability to function as Congress intended, since it was established in 1995 as the successor to the Interstate Commerce Commission. Our bill would also allow the board to initiate some investigations, not just respond to complaints, and would require the STB to establish a database of pending complaints and prepare quarterly reports on them. I'm hopeful that the Senate will be able to pass this bipartisan STB reform bill in the near future. Turning to our other nominee, and you mentioned as well, I have a keen interest in agriculture, as you know, and yes, rail transportation. I had an ag roundtable back in South Dakota recently, and one of the recurring themes that came out of that was the high shipping costs and its effect on farmers across South Dakota who rely on rail transportation to get their harvest to the market. In your response to the committee's questionnaire, you mentioned that under your direction the board has been proactive, I should say, in addressing rail service issues by closely monitoring rail service metrics, issuing targeted service orders that improve service levels and increase accountability, gain stakeholder input, and making board staff available to resolve immediate service crises. That's from your statement. So I question, how do you characterize your efforts as having been successful, and what steps would the STB take to prevent future rail service delays?
As far as future rail delays, what we have done is on December 31st, we did issue a decision, a proposed rulemaking that asked for more information from the railroads so that we can better understand the service issues and the metrics involved in the rail industry. That has never been done before, despite all the service issues. So we are going to have a more careful examination of what's going on with respect to the rail industry. In addition, since the rail crisis that occurred in 2014 occurred, we have been in close contact with the railroads and their shippers to make sure that we understand their issues, and we also want to make sure that the railroads are coordinating amongst themselves to make sure that these issues don't arise again, especially in Chicago.
Questions, and I would direct this one to Mr. Elliott, and it has to do with adjudication in rate cases. The STB's FY 2016 budget request states that the board participates in roughly 1,300 decisions in court-related matters each year, and a significant portion of the STB's resources are consumed by complex rate cases. This workload is expected to increase. Your colleague, Vice Chairman Ann Begeman, dissented on the proposed FY 2016 budget request on the grounds that she believes the budget fails to dedicate enough attention and resources to improve its adjudication processes while simultaneously doubling its travel budget. So, Mr. Elliott, could you share your views on the Vice Chairman's criticism of the 2016 budget proposal?
Sure. As far as dedicating money to the process itself, the board has taken some of the money. I've commissioned a study on the rate case process. What has occurred since I've come to the board is the cases have gone from coal cases with 1 or 2 routes to cases which are incredibly more complex with hundreds of routes. So what I have done is dedicated money, number one, to look at studies of alternative ways to bring rate cases in a simpler fashion. So I've committed money to an external consultant to take a look at that because I thought the board needed new ways to make the board more accessible. Second, I've also commissioned a internal study about faster ways to bring rate cases through the board and more efficiently and more quickly. As far as the travel budget itself, I don't believe that our budget is large in comparison to most agencies, but we do travel very conservatively over the last several years. So I'm not sure exactly if it's not a big number. So I have committed, and I've committed as an attorney that practiced before the board, every possible human resource in the board to look at ways to improve the way we process cases.
Thank you. Mr.